Okay, so this is the third part of the Chapter 1 presentation on the foundations of communication. We've talked about communication settings and context and what makes communication communication, the foundations of the characteristics of communication. That it's indexical, that it's purposeful, that it's continuous, things like that. Now we're going to talk about some ethics that are involved in communication. So, what do I mean by that? Ethics are moral principles that are held by a society, group, or individual that differentiate between right and wrong. So they help us decide what we should or shouldn't do versus maybe what we want to do. And they guide us to a specific right set of ways to think or behave. These are sometimes also sort of referred to as cultural norms, although norms have to do more with what is acceptable behavior versus ethics, which have to do more with values. And communication ethics are basically about being a good person in the eyes of your culture. So the golden rule is a pretty good basis for that. Do unto others what you would want done to you. But we have some specific ethical principles for communication. The first one is honesty. So you want to be truthful. You don't want to lie. That's generally not very ethical. Integrity. So ethical communicators are not hypocrites. They practice what they preach. Their actions reflect their words and vice versa. They don't say something and then do the exact opposite. They're fair. They attempt to be impartial. They consider all facts and positions before making a decision and avoid prejudice, discrimination, and isms like sexism, racism, things like that. They also demonstrate respect, so they are respectful and are often respected people by showing regard for other people's feelings, points of view, and rights, which demonstrates that fairness that we talked about earlier. And they tend to be people who use communication responsibly. They recognize that words have power and avoid gossip, rumor, and communication that is based on falsehoods rather than honesty. And again, that goes back to the honesty part of the ethical principles for communication. They're all very interrelated. Messages can be bright side or dark side, meaning kind of good or bad. So a bright side message is ethical and appropriate. A dark side message is unethical and inappropriate. Easy side message is taking the easy way out to maintain the relationship. So it might be appropriate, but maybe not ethical. This is probably a pretty stereotypical example, but if a guy looks at a girl and she goes, "Does this dress make me look fat?" And the guy goes, thinks to himself, "Yeah, it really does." But actually says something like, "No, honey, you look great in that dress." That would be an easy side. He's taking the easy way to maintain the relationship rather than the bright side, which would be to, maybe you should change your dress. A true dark side, or hard side isn't in here. I don't remember what hard side is. Pause. Every once in a while, teachers have to review their materials when their brain blanks out. So a hard side message would be being honest even if it hurts the relationship. So again, we've got that guy, the dress makes her look fat. He goes, "Wow, you look awful." That would be a hard side message. It hurts the relationship and there's no good purpose for it. A true evil dark side message would be malicious, would be abusive, being mean at the expense of the relationship. It is neither ethical nor appropriate. So I think of D&D alignment charts. When I think of bright side and dark side messages, it makes more sense to me. So you have, this is the standard D&D Dungeons & Dragons alignment chart. You have lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, then lawful, neutral, neutral, chaotic, neutral, lawful, chaotic, and neutral, evil. And it works basically like this. Those on the left side play by the rules. They're lawful. Those on the right side do not play by the rules. They're chaotic. Those at the top are nice. Those at the bottom are not nice. So your bright side message is going to be this one. It's going to be your lawful good. Your hard side is maybe going to be chaotic good or chaotic neutral. Your easy side is going to be doing the right thing but for the wrong reasons. So lawful evil. And your true evil dark side is going to be chaotic evil. So if you're kind of a tabletop gamer, that might be a good way to understand it. I don't know if there's anyone in this room or in this class who does that for fun. And yeah, here's another D&D alignment chart that can help you understand the gray areas between, I don't remember why I included two of them, between the bright side and dark side stuff. Communication competence. So this is something a lot of you have talked about in your discussion boards. Communication competence is the effectiveness and appropriateness of communication given certain circumstances. So it's being able to read your audience and respond appropriately. And it is achieved through motivation, knowledge, and practice. You're probably not going to be a very effective or competent communicator if you don't want to be. You have to be motivated to do it. It helps to have knowledge of things like the structures involved in creating speeches, or knowing how you behave in certain situations, or cultural knowledge to be able to be effective at communicating and be appropriate. And it's not something that comes naturally to most people, so you do need practice. Credibility also helps. Credibility is the perceived knowledge, worthiness, and warmth of a person. So how much do I want to believe that person? How much do I think I should believe that person? That's credibility. And social ease. This is the hardest one, I think, for almost everyone. Everyone feels some degree, almost everyone feels some degree of anxiety when speaking to people that they're not familiar with, especially large groups. Eliminating that nervousness is probably not realistic for most of us, but managing it enough so that we don't look like we're nervous, so we look like we're confident, that helps out. That's something we can actually do. And when we do that, when we think we appear more confident, well, that makes it so we're not as nervous, and that helps to build that social ease and to help to make it seem like even if what we're doing is hard, it looks easy. Communication apprehension is another thing that a lot of you mentioned. Communication apprehension is the fear or anxiety associated with a specific communication event. This could be talking to strangers. It might be talking to a large group. It might even just be getting yourself out there more. It might be being nervous while giving a speech or a job interview. Probably the most extreme version is social anxiety. And it is improved by communication improvement plans. So what are those? Communication improvement plans give you a structured approach to target a certain communication problem and improve it. So the first thing you want to do is identify the problem. Why and in what situations do you feel anxious about communicating? So let's say you feel anxious about communicating, giving speeches to a large group. Then you want to create a specific goal. What specifically do you want to improve? What will it look like to you? So instead of saying, I want to give amazing speeches, which is a really big goal, you might say, I want to look more confident when I deliver my speeches. So then you kind of have a much narrower group of things to work on. Then you're going to create a plan for improvement. So what are some specific steps you might take to achieve your communication goal? Well, to make it seem like I'm more confident, I will rehearse my speeches ahead of time. I will give them to my cat so that I have a safe place to practice my body language. Or I'll deliver a speech in front of a mirror so that I can watch my body language and make sure that I appear confident. And then devise a method for assessing progress. So how will you measure improvement? So let's say you're giving that speech in front of a mirror. I will watch myself in the mirror and assess my level of confidence as I'm delivering the speech to determine whether or not my the portrayal of confidence has improved. So in summary, communication occurs anytime we interact with ourselves or others. It relies on canned plans and scripts, especially in initial interaction. It occurs within a specific communication context and setting. It involves a process of producing, encoding, interpreting messages and feedback. The characteristics of communication are purpose, continuity, it is irreversible, situated, indexical, and dependent on cultural expectations and the level of deliberation or thought involved in the communication. It's also guided by ethics. Navigating ethics often involves the creation of bright, dark side messages and hard, soft side responses. And communication competence is the impression that someone is both reliable and good at communicating, which is developed through knowledge, skills, social ease, and credibility. Communication apprehension is kind of the opposite of that. It is negative feelings about communicating in a general or specific context, which is improved with knowledge, practice, and a communication improvement plan. And that takes us to the end of Chapter 1. I will work on getting Chapter 2 up very shortly for you guys. My throat's kind of a little bit sore from talking for the last hour, so I'm going to take a break and I will come back.